do you think you could build a $20 million a year mortgage business just doing open houses in 1 year? I actually didn't think it was possible until I met Kyle. And what Kyle proves to me is that what's possible when you take a simple idea very seriously and do it consistently at scale. Today's guest, Kyle Scott, is a mortgage broker based out of Calgary, Alberta. Previous to that, he moved there just a year ago. And in a year, he's built his mortgage business up to 20 million. And all he's done, his number one focus is going to open houses on the weekends. And then he has looking for a specific type of realtor and then a follow-up plan afterwards. And he's probably going to fund close to 20 million this year and has had to hire an assistant to keep up with all the volume. And when I have a conversation like this, I'm always like, okay, what are you doing different? So you're going to like this conversation. Ask him what he does when he gets there. Does he have any special tricks? What does the conversation look like? Who's he looking for in terms of realtor partners? And then what he does in order to get business from them after the fact, because meeting them once is obviously not going to be enough to turn into a business relationship. And then we dive into some of the tweaks he's made recently with adding in a new team member and how his goal is to hit 40 million. And I have no doubt that unless the market goes crazy or goes really negative, that he'll hit close to that number next year, if not exceed it. Hey, I'm Scott Beckford. This is the Adult Mortgage Brokering Podcast. I'm the founder of this, as well as Bricks Mortgage, BRX Mortgage. And I love talking to mortgage brokers to learn what they're doing, what we can apply in our business, look under the hood. And this conversation with Kyle is a ton of fun. And I'm going to just jump right into it, and I will give you some of my thoughts on the back end. Hey, Kyle, welcome to the show.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me.
So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into the mortgage biz?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in a real estate household. My father's a realtor. I was actually home from university one summer, and he said, instead of going and bagging groceries or something like that, I'll pay to get your mortgage license. I'm from Saskatchewan, so it was like a week to get licensed, and so I did the course, and then I did that when I was 18, and then I had to wait till the fall till I turned 19, and then I decided to get licensed while I was in school. I kind of did that every now and again when I could pick up a file here and there.
So how long ago was that? I mean, you look like you're more than 18 right now if you're watching the video. So how old are you now, and when did that happen? How long ago?
Yeah, I'm 24 now. So that was I got licensed at the beginning of 2020.
And so your dad is he still a real estate agent in Saskatchewan?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. And you're based out of Alberta. So like when we talk about your business growth, has any of it come from your dad, or has it been your own self-sourced stuff that you had to go out and get?
No, it's all been myself. He mostly does commercial stuff. So
okay.
Don't do any of that.
So okay, you got into it, and now and then tell me about did you just do when did you go from part-time to full-time in this?
Yeah, so it was actually after a couple of years of holding my license. I had the opportunity to team up with some folks who had a lot more experience in the business. So I think it was 2022. I dropped out of school and started brokering full-time.
And so what was your role with them? Did you do admin? Were you like, what was your
we were all just full-time brokers. We started a DLC franchise.
Yeah. Okay. So you and some friends started your own franchise, and you again, nobody was giving you business. You had to go out and find business even then, or were people giving you business?
No, it was all self-sourced.
Okay. And has it always been in Alberta? Like, you're in Calgary, right? Yeah. Has it always been in Calgary?
No, it was, I started out in Victoria, BC. So I've been in Calgary for about a year, spent 3 years brokering out in Victoria.
Okay. And how was your business in Victoria compared to Calgary?
They're pretty much on even ground at this point. It was really slow starting out there, especially with COVID and things like that. Wasn't too sure how to source new business just starting out. Basically, I was able to replicate in Calgary the first year what my year 3 business was in Victoria. So I maintained my volume switching over, where about 90% of new business came from Calgary.
Okay. And then, do you still do business in both provinces?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
But where's, if you were to look at the split now, how does the split look from
the
BC,
same.
Alberta?
I'm only doing probably a file every couple of months in BC. The rest is Calgary, pretty much.
So it would be like 90% or more is Alberta at this moment.
Exactly.
Okay. And all right, so you drop into a new city, which is never easy to do. You've only been in the mortgage business a couple of years. Doing what were you averaging for files like when you were in Victoria? What was a year of files for you?
Probably 25, 30.
Okay, and so then you come to Alberta, and then what did you do to get your business going? And then I guess one other question for us: that how many files do you think you're going to do this year?
This year, probably close to 40, 45.
Okay. And what did you do to get your business going in Alberta over the last year?
Main thing has been open houses. So I've done open houses in both communities. So I just kind of replicated what I did in Victoria and Calgary.
Okay. And so how many open houses? Because like most people are like, oh, that's dead. That doesn't work anymore. And when you told me, I think you're going to finish this year 20 million or something, and you're got it primarily from open houses, which I almost fell out of my chair. I'm like, what? How's that possible? So like, how many have you done?
Over my career, probably about 300. I would say maybe like 150, 170 in Calgary since I got here.
Right. Okay. And so walk me through that. Like, how many would you, how do you do that many? Is it just something you do every weekend? You just line them up, or I'm going to walk through this whole strategy of like what you did to kind of get it going.
Yeah, definitely. So I was trying to do between 10 and 20 a weekend if I could.
Yeah.
So basically just Saturday, Sunday, try and line things up where they're all close in the same neighborhood, and just go in, shake some hands with some realtors, talk with the folks that are receptive and wanting to chit chat some more. So spending probably 2.5 hours on Saturday, 2.5 hours on Sunday. So call it like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes per open house.
And so 4 or 5 hours a week on this. And so if I'm a real estate agent and you come in and you talk to me, what would you say to me? So if I'm like sitting there, like what's your conversation like?
Just trying to qualify them a little bit, find out how long they've been in the business, if they're, brand new first couple of months, or if they've been in it a while. Find out if they've got a go-to guy, I would say. And then the rest is just kind of getting to know them. And I kind of stuck to folks that I just hit it off with, that my metric for really focusing in was if I thought I could hang out with you and sit down and grab a beer and we'd get along, that's kind of the people I focused in on. Just made it easy to do the follow-up and, go for coffee, hang out, and really get to know them on a personal level.
So the beer metric, it's like, hey, can we have a beer together? And I would enjoy chatting with you. And then, so one of the things that people talk about doing open houses is that not everybody's receptive. So if you had some people that were, I got to imagine you've had non-receptive audiences. And can you give me an example of something that you were like, shook your head at afterwards?
Nothing too dramatic. I've had, not in so many words, but I've had, F off pretty much, like,
right.
Like, what are you doing? Get out of here. That type of thing. So it does happen. I, try not to take it personally. I think that it's one of those things. If someone, if you're in business and someone's approaching you and you don't really know what they offer yet, I think it's just, that's not someone I want to be doing business with in the first place, who aren't, kind of open or receptive to at least a conversation. So doesn't.
Right. So you didn't let it, because some people, they hear one, quote unquote F off, and then they're like, oh, this doesn't work, I'm going to stop doing it. But you just seem to be like impervious to it or something. Like, do you think that's wiring? Do you think it's wiring, or I guess I'm trying to understand what's going on in your head, because most people, when they feel uncomfortable, stop doing the thing, even though at scale it works. Right. So,
I definitely wouldn't say I'm impervious. I don't necessarily think it's wiring either. It's just practice and understanding.
Okay, I'm putting words in your mouth. Yeah. I'm making it seem like you're like this. The term, I'm the Terminator. You just don't stop till you get.
I would like to think so, but yeah, probably not. But I think it's just creating the habit of it. Just the toughest thing is when I don't do it for a while and I want to go out there and meet more realtors. It's just getting back into the habit when you're doing it every weekend, and you go through so many so many reps on a weekend. If you're doing 20 open houses in a weekend, you get a lot of different answers and you have lots of good interactions as well. So it's just focusing on the good ones and knowing that, if 10, 15, 20 of those interactions on a weekend, you're going to have 2 or 3 that are going to lead to something or like.
Okay. So you're basically only looking for, 10, what percent of those are you hoping that if you go see 10, how many of them would pass the beer test, the beer metric?
1 would be awesome.
So you're okay with 1 good connection from 10 interactions, and then what do you do after that so that they don't forget about you? Because obviously that's just 1 touch point, and they're not going to remember to refer you and stuff. But talk to me about that.
Yeah, so try doing weekly follow-ups with like videos talking about like tips and tricks or just like case scenarios of files I closed recently, and then just trying to schedule coffees with them, maybe going grabbing dinner, going to the driving range, just doing stuff, and getting to know them. So that's pretty much it. It's not too complicated.
It's just purely relationship based. And do you think that you said your dad was a real estate agent, so I mean, it's not like you'd be like, this is just like talking. You can probably talk about real estate, because you grew up around it, right? So you'd be comfortable in that conversation.
Oh, exactly. So it's not.
So you'd go just so I'm breaking this down for some listening. So you go out and you do 10 open houses, the goal of getting 1, maybe 2 people that seemed like there was a genuine connection. And then from there it's follow-up videos weekly, and then try to have another conversation.
Yeah.
And that's, in a year you're doing like 20 million or something you're going to do in your market, which is fantastic. So what have you changed, or like how have you changed or tweaked your approach in the last little bit? Or are you still doing the open houses?
I'm not doing them right now. The change has really been in the follow-up and kind of having more of a process and more of a presentation on my value add, and just sort of trying to get out of the friend zone faster to get those referrals. So lately I've been kind of going back to the folks I already met and basically giving them a spiel and trying to revitalize some old relationships.
Right. And so how big a list of how many realtors have you built a list of that are on your follow-up video thing that you're doing?
Probably close to 350.
Okay. So you put them all on there, even if there isn't a genuine, and then how many of them have referred you? So of the people that you've got in front of, how many, do you have an idea of what percent have referred you somebody?
Yeah. Probably around somewhere in the 20 to 25 range.
20 to 25 of the realtors?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's like offshooting stuff where, realtors will introduce me to their friends, or I'll end up working with, I've ended up working with a team based on one interaction I have at an open house and stuff like that. So there's all the. And so
when you show up to these open houses, you're not showing up with like goodies, because some people would show up with like cookies and stuff. Or you just showing up like you're, naked and just, hey, shake a hand and say hi kind of thing?
Pretty much.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the thing I love about this whole story, because we had chatted about this before, is that it's just, you just take one idea and you just take it really seriously and just do it at scale. And it's, it's amazing what can happen. Right.
Yeah.
And so now the focus is on moving, like you said, you've got these people that they're warm to you, but they don't all refer. And so now it's going back and having that business conversation and trying to up level that relationship.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you said, it's just doing things at scale and getting those repetitions in. When I first started doing it, I didn't even have business cards that I brought. Just use it as a way to follow up with them and get permission to send them an email so they had my contact information. So you don't really have to. It's not too complicated of a strategy to get started. You just have to go do it. And
so, do you bring a business card, or do you want to get their contact info so that you can follow up with them?
Now that I have them, I bring them, but I always get their permission to email them after.
And if you ask 10 of them if you can email them, how do you say yes?
Most, I would say 8 or 9 out of 10.
Right. So they give you permission to email them, and then that's where is there anything else you do that you feel like makes this work, this whole open house strategy?
I've no, not really. I really, it's just as straightforward as meeting people, and it's the whole idea of, the harder you work, the luckier you're getting, and just having as many interactions as people in the business as you can.
Yeah, I love how Alex Hormozy says volume negates luck. So
Yeah.
just by pure volume, you're going to have more success with it. So what else have you done with your business? So okay, and the last question on this, let's say that so the 20 million that you're going to approximately fund this year, what percentage of it came from open houses?
I'd say around 70%.
Right. That's amazing. That's unreal. So anybody listening to this going, oh, it doesn't work anymore. No, it works, but you just have to do it like Kyle talked about, just consistency and volume, right? Okay. So what other, right now with your mortgage business, I know there's some other tweaks. What other kind of changes or tweaks have you been making because just to keep up with the deal flow and stuff?
Yeah. Actually today I just onboarded a underwriter assistant.
Yeah.
Getting him on to help with the documentation, that type of thing. Been going more after planners and having those conversations as well. So trying to diversify a little bit, trying to do more renewals, more refis, work the database a little bit more.
Yeah. So you basically now you're at the point where, and then how many hours a week are you working right now prior to getting this assistant?
Somewhere between 40 and 50 hours a week.
And so what made you decide that you thought that it was time to get an assistant? What was the the tipping point?
It's the ebb and flow of things where 1 month I have a slow month, maybe only do a couple files, then I prospect like crazy. Then next month there's 9 or 10 files, and now I'm spending all my time just doing paperwork and fulfilling. And I feel like I can't really scale up my business because it's that ebb and flow where I get super slow. I have to spend all my time prospecting, and then it just gets overwhelming. All the paperwork gets super stressful, and then I can't really I can't keep up with the prospecting.
Right. The interesting thing about the mortgage business, I've talked about this before, but in most, it's technical sales because a mortgage is it's complex products. And a lot of businesses, like say computer systems, there's a salesperson and there's somebody who installs it. Mortgage brokers do the sales and installation. And so when you're doing the sale, do the prospecting, when you're doing the installing, you can't sell anymore. And so so the only way you can do that is by basically bringing in some help to be like, okay, this person's going to do fulfillment, underwriting, which then gives you back more sales time and you're able to scale it up. But yeah, that's interesting. So, are you excited about having this person on to like help you? And this person, so there's a trust level there and stuff. But are you excited to like actually have some extra bandwidth?
Oh, absolutely! I'm super excited. It's gonna be great. I think we can really streamline the process. And I do lots of video in my process, so there's going to be a lot of there's probably only like 3 or 4 key points I think in the mortgage process where I really have to be there. So I'm kind of able to eliminate pretty much 80% of what I don't like doing in the mortgage business and just focus on the key activities. So I'm super excited. I think it's going to change my business entirely.
So what are you using for tools to do these videos and give me some ideas of like when you use them?
Yeah. So I'm using Loom and BombBomb, a mixture of the two. I'm putting together a strategy, like budget sheet strategy videos for clients, introduction videos. So if I get an email intro, I'll make a video saying, hey, introduce myself. Welcome to Landmark Mortgages. Looking forward to speaking with you. Then I'll do a video for the signing package, and then a closing day video sort of saying thank you, looking for feedback, review, that type of thing, any referrals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what tools are you using to keep track of everything, like your files? Are you you have a CRM or using a spreadsheet? What are you doing there?
It's really just a spreadsheet and just trying to remember everything, to be honest. So I'm definitely trying to implement a CRM system. I'm trying to implement Brokerage right now and keep up with using that. But traditionally, it's just been a submission platform and then a spreadsheet.
Okay. I mean, the thing is that there's people that are doing, 600 files a year with a spreadsheet. Jim Terlucas, I think he can be doing I think I would argue he can do 1,000, but he doesn't want to, and he needs staff and process, but like whatever, he's happy. So, So basically, your systems right now are not super sophisticated, but as you scale up, you'll start to layer in more like processes, or more automation. You think?
Yeah, and it's kind of what you and I discussed, where just one thing at a time, layer things in.
Yeah.
So now I feel like I got the big marketing piece out of the way and figured out. Next thing is going to be working with the assistant and getting him integrated into that whole thing and implementing the CRM and streamlining that and building out the closing process and start to get more sophisticated with that and a better system to follow up with database.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So is there anything else you're doing new for marketing, like, or that you plan to do now that when you don't have the bandwidth yet, but when you get that additional bandwidth, what's your plan for growth?
I think the planners is a big one. Starting to do 4 slides with some financial planners, and those are working out quite well. So probably just kind of do the same thing that I did with the real estate agents, and going back and doing all the 4-slide presentations and implementing the same thing with the planners and trying to get a good solid base with that, and start doing weekly emails for them and tips and tricks. And
it's the same it's literally the same. It's like, hey, meet you, find it. You're like, the thing about having a presentation or a plan for those conversations is it's like you talk about their pain points, how you can solve them, and then you just got to stay in communication with them, and you will convert them. Like, it's not sexy. I've often said the best movie for mortgage brokers to watch is Groundhog Day. It's like, it's the same thing every day, man. It's not Wall Street. It's Groundhog Day. Just repeat, lather, rinse, repeat. And that the boring business are the ones that make all the money. So what else are you working on, or are you excited about? I mean, you got this person coming on. I'm curious what's got you excited in the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, doing Jim's training actually coming up here, so hoping to learn a lot there. Really, it's the biggest thing is just taking a step back and not having to worry about all the paperwork and that type of thing as much, and just kind of focusing in and kind of just enjoying the grind. Days prospecting, and so nothing too fancy that I really have planned. It's just going to be more realtors, more planners, focusing on that.
Right. And do the fundamentals. Do you think? Do you have a goal for next year now that you got this person? And like, what if for 2025 to be a good year? What would you be like? Man, I'm thrilled if I go from here to there.
I would love to double my volume to 40 million. I think that's super feasible. So instead of having all those months where there's lulls, if I can keep that same level, then instead of 6.
So you have months that if we're duplicated would be 40 million, but then it's like a roller coaster too, right? So you go up, you go to prospect, you got lots of business, but then you're working on the files, and then next month it's down. And so like leveling that out it's usually the quickest way to double your business is to get help. Like whether or not as long as you do the prospecting activities. I had one of our agents today texted me and said, so I talked to him and said, hey, you need to get help. So he's like, dude, I've done all my work by noon. I was like, what do I do? I'm like, keep going prospecting, man. Like, just go. So he's like, so he's excited. And I'm like, let's see what happens now that he's just gave himself like basically 3 extra hours a day of prospecting. You're going to feel that way too. You'll feel that way soon.
I had bits that I had someone working part-time per file a few months ago. And it's like, I had this week where I got all these leads in, and I felt like I had this like sense of urgency. And then I remembered I had this person dealing with all the paperwork, and it's like, I looked at my calendar. It's like, oh, I kind of have the rest of the day to do what I want. I'm not going to be stuck in front of my computer, sort of through bank payments for the rest of the day. So it's nice for sure. It's huge.
Good for you, man. So is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you think our listeners will find helpful?
No, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head.
I do have one other question. I used to ask this one before. So if you could go back in time and give yourself, the DeLorean question, which is the car from Back to the Future, drive back and you could talk to yourself 4 years ago. What advice would you give yourself?
Probably hire an assistant sooner.
Yeah.
that's buying back your time is everything, and just the reduction in stress and more capacity. I think that's huge.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? That's that one is the two most common for people that where you're at right now. It's I should have hired sooner and I should have set up my CRM. Like, oh, you know what? You're doing both of them at the same time. So let's go. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
fantastic.
Yeah, it's a scary thing bringing someone on, but it's well worth it.
It's the necessary next step. Where can people find you online?
I don't even know my Instagram handle. KyleScott.official. Instagram, landmarkmortgages.ca is my website.
Okay, we'll put links in the chat to this. Kyle, man, thanks for coming to chat with me. Congrats on your success, and I'm looking forward to seeing you double next year. And it'll double will actually feel easier than what you're doing right now. 40 million with good help is easier than 20 million by yourself. You will be like, wow, this is actually significantly easier than I thought. So awesome. Kudos to you.
Well, thanks, Scott. I appreciate the time. It's great chatting with you.
Hey, thanks again for listening. And, you know, one of the things I love about what my conversation with Kyle, he's just such a relaxed guy. Like, as you can tell by his tone and his demeanor. And he's just looking for those people that he can build a relationship with and then stays in a relationship. And one of the tweaks that we've made to start working with him recently is having a business conversation. So the idea that if you're going to and he's got these, some realtors that some of them refer to him, but a lot of them haven't. So how do you move those realtors from the friend zone into, into referral partner zone? And it really comes down to having a business conversation. And that business conversation, for it to be effective, you're going to need to, you got to understand their pain points. And if you understand their pain points, and then you can show them how you are best suited to solve those pain points for them, for them, you'll build a very successful business. And we've seen this happen time and time again. And, Kyle is no exception. So yeah, thanks for listening to this episode. As I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that someone else hasn't already solved. If you have, hopefully this podcast gives you some of those answers. I'm Scott Peckford, and I will see you on the next episode.